The streets of Paris had always whispered tales of mystery and romance, but on that fateful night, they took on a darker tone. Sophie, a young artist with a penchant for adventure, found herself wandering aimlessly through the labyrinthine alleys of Montmartre. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional echo of her footsteps against the cobblestones. As Sophie turned a corner, she stumbled upon a dimly lit cafe tucked away in a secluded corner. Drawn by the inviting glow of its windows, she pushed open the heavy wooden door and stepped inside. The cafe was deserted, save for a lone figure seated at the far end of the room. A chill ran down Sophie's spine as she approached the mysterious stranger. His eyes, obscured by the shadow of his hat, seemed to pierce through her soul. Without a word, he motioned for her to take a seat opposite him. Feeling a strange mixture of fear and curiosity, Sophie obliged. The man introduced himself as Marcel, a collector of stories from the darkest corners of the city. Intrigued, Sophie leaned in closer as Marcel began to recount tales of Parisian folklore. With each story, the atmosphere in the cafe grew more oppressive. Outside, the wind howled like a wounded animal, and Sophie couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Yet, she couldn't tear herself away from Marcel's words, which seemed to weave a spell around her. As the clock struck midnight, Marcel's voice took on a sinister edge. He spoke of a long-forgotten curse that haunted the streets of Montmartre, a curse that demanded a sacrifice to appease the restless spirits that dwelled there. Sophie's heart pounded in her chest as she realized the true nature of Marcel's invitation. She tried to flee, but the doors were locked tight, trapping her in the clutches of the sinister cafe. Desperate, Sophie pleaded with Marcel to let her go, but he only chuckled darkly in response. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned forth a spectral figure from the shadows, its eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. Terrified, Sophie closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, as the ghostly apparition closed in on her. But instead of meeting her end, she felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. Opening her eyes, Sophie found herself back on the empty streets of Montmartre, the first light of dawn painting the sky with hues of pink and gold. She stumbled away from the cafe, shaken but alive. To this day, Sophie isn't sure if it was all just a nightmare or if she truly encountered something supernatural that night. But one thing is certain, she never forget the chilling tales of Marcel and the strange night in Paris that changed her forever.